In a recent earnings call, Disney CEO Bob Iger was upbeat about the long term. He's really optimistic about the future of Star Wars. No problem there. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. Oh, man. Nothing to look at. The parks, no problem. The writing, it's the best it's ever been. Situation normal. Man, my goodness. Guys, final Death Star. So I'm going to talk about the current climate of Star Wars right now for a little bit. Kind of just rant on it. Because there's a lot that has gone on in the last 24 hours. A lot of the stories focusing around the fandom menace, the climate of fans who are not happy with the direction that Star Wars has been heading under Disney's control. The critiques of the movies, the park, the Disney World and Disneyland park. There's a lot of news from Bob Iger's book that came out where he's basically saying that they kind of screwed George Lucas out of his franchise. I mean, they didn't screw him. Like, Lucas got $2 billion or something crazy like that. So he made out well, but the story is they kind of misled him, and it's come out now that George was pretty upset about it, as you would imagine. And I guess Bob Iger, although they have every legal right to handle Star Wars however they want to, he admitted himself that he could have been a little more upfront with Lucas about the fact that they weren't going to use his original outline for what would have been episodes 7, 8, and 9. Lucas had worked on an outline that got a little more into the wills, which are it's the essence of the Force itself, the mystical, not creators of the Force, but I guess, I don't know what you'd call them, overlords of the Force. They dealt with it in Clone Wars a little bit. Lucas, he created Clone Wars, so they dealt with it in that a little bit with the help of Dave Filoni. Shout out to Dave Filoni, because I think he's part of the future of Star Wars. But anyway, so... And then this whole thing breaks today with Star Wars Explained blocking like over 2,000 people from their Twitter account. Anyone who followed Geeks and Gamers and Drunk 3PO, is those two. Anyone who followed either one of them, they just blocked you. Didn't matter if you never contacted them before, had any interaction with them, ever attacked them in any way. I mean, attacked, I never even had contacted them. But over 2,000 some people were just blocked. So this article is coming from boundingintocomics.com. And if we look here, has Disney CEO Bob Iger doesn't believe Star Wars has a storytelling problem. I think the storytelling capabilities of the company are endless. Doesn't have a storytelling problem. This is the CEO of Disney. Disney CEO Bob Iger revealed that he doesn't believe Star Wars has a storytelling problem. In a lengthy subject piece on Iger, the New York Times, Iger tells them, "I think the storytelling capabilities of the company are endless because of the talent we have at the company, and the talent we have at the company is better than it's ever been." The talent they have right now, well, let me finish this quote first. In part because of the influx of people from Fox. Okay. The talent they have is better than talent that the company has ever had in the history of Disney. All the great original animated films that you love, not as good. The storytelling was not as good as what they're putting out now, which are basically just remakes of all the classics that were written before, way back when. They're just rehashing them in this pseudo live action manner, and that storytelling is not, or is better than the original stories that were written, the animated films. And then you've got Lucasfilm and Star Wars. You're saying that the sequel trilogy is better than the prequels, than the original trilogy. I don't know. I mean, I get he's the CEO of Disney. He's got to talk up the company, but come on, man. You got to be realistic here. That's a pretty bold statement. Many Star Wars fans would vehemently disagree, yes, we would and do, with Iger's assessment on the mark, especially after Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. The film received a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes from the audience, and has a similar score on Metacritic with a 4.4. Not only did The Last Jedi get overwhelmingly poor audience scores, but other Star Wars initiatives are also struggling on the storytelling front. Disney canceled their latest animated series, Star Wars Resistance. The show was only being watched by an average audience of 300,000 people. It's a sharp decline from Star Wars Rebels, which saw an average viewership of 500,000 to 700,000 an episode. I was a fan of Star Wars Rebels. I liked the Clone Wars. I loved the Clone Wars. And I liked Rebels a lot. I thought they did a good job. Of course, that was Dave Filoni, spearheading that. I know the Resistance was technically Filoni's crew, but he really wasn't as involved with that. He kind of handed that off after he got it up and running, because obviously he was kind of busy working on The Mandalorian. You know, they had more important tasks at hand than a TV show that I think he was probably not that excited about to begin with, but Disney would also reveal that their Star Wars merchandise sales have also been declining, meaning consumers are not interested in investing in the current crop of characters that have been featured in the Star Wars sequels. They're also struggling to get people into the Galaxy's Edge. I've got another little story on that here coming up. Not only did Iger state that he doesn't think Star Wars has a storytelling problem, but he blamed the franchise's current string of failures on the timing and pace of the release of films. So again, here we have this, Star Wars fatigue, they were calling it. Star Wars fatigue. But yet Marvel doesn't seem to have any problem with Marvel fatigue. They may, going forward, if they keep, pushing this narrative that they seem to be falling in line with, but they hadn't for the last, 10, 11 years. There was no problem. 2 movies a year, in some cases, 3, no problem. Everyone was a hit. Why? Because the storytelling, because they kept true to the characters, or, to a degree they kept true to the characters. I know people have issues with Spider-Man. I do too. Spider-Man was not the Spider-Man in the comics. I still enjoyed Spider-Man because I get what they were going for, and it wasn't there's still a better way to do Spider-Man, but it was good enough. And then Thor, they kind of changed his character. I think it was, I kind of like the way they went with Thor. I get it's not the comic representation of him, but it worked for the movies, for what the MCU was trying to accomplish, and clearly it worked for audiences. So I just don't agree with Star Wars fatigue. It's the storytelling that is the problem, right there. That is the problem. So a year ago, Iger made similar remarks about Star Wars. Told the Hollywood Reporter, "I made the timing decision, and as I look back, I think I made a bad decision, or I think the mistake that I made. I take the blame. Was a little too much too fast. But I think we're going to be a little more careful about volume and timing, and the buck stops here on that." Well, that's true. Okay, then it just says, what I just said. Marvel Studios has no problem turning out, Pixar films. I mean, you could go through different examples of, TV shows. That's a kind of, he's just trying to he's trying to come up with reasons to get out of the fact that people are not happy about the storytelling. That is exactly the problem. The character representation, meaning the representation of like Luke Skywalker, of Han Solo, not getting them together. The issues with the new characters, how they're not well developed. They weren't written from a deep understanding of what you go through, or in the Star Wars universe, what the heroes should have to go through in a hero story. So this is the next article. Disney Parks veteran steps down amid sluggish Star Wars Land attendance. Catherine Powell is leaving the company after the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge attraction launches fell flat. Not only did Disneyland, but Disney World has now failed to gain any steam. It's people don't want to go and walk around from I haven't gone yet, honestly. I haven't gone yet. I may at some point to check it out because it's still Star Wars, but I don't know. I just don't have that interest in walking around basically an outdoor shopping mall. There's no original trilogy stuff, so that's bad enough. But you think, well, it's still Star Wars, the world of Star Wars, but it's from all reports, it's basically like a big outdoor shopping mall. There's only the one ride right now, the Falcon. What is it, Rise of the Resistance or something? It's supposed to be this most state-of-the-art ride. It hasn't opened yet, and I think it's supposed to open by the end of the year, but, we'll see. So she stepped down because of failure of the gaining attraction to go to this park. As president of Disney Parks West, Powell was in charge of Disneyland Paris, Walt Disney World, and Disneyland. Powell was also in her post during the recent openings for 2 new Star Wars lands, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Walt Disney World in Orlando, and another at the California Disneyland Park that fell flat on attendance. Disney had to follow up the turnout for the Star Wars attraction launches with discounted pricing and aggressive marketing. It's understood from sources that Disney and Powell's posts have been eliminated, and she will help in the transition as her staff reports to Disney Parks Experience and Products Chairman Bob Chapek. So her position's gone. So, I don't know if they were planning this ahead of time. Had the parks been a hit, would she have been out of a job? Would she have needed to step down because they were eliminating her role? That's hard to say. I don't know. But it's very questionable that she's stepping down at the same time that these parks are in a lot of trouble. The studio has high expectations for Star Wars Galaxy Edge, which features 2 rides, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, which hasn't opened yet, and the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Shops, restaurants with Star Wars themes. So it's 2 rides, 1 isn't open, and a bunch of shops and restaurants. But hype around the new Star Wars land appears to have dissuaded some from attending soon after the launches. So Disney revealed that a non-cost reservation would be needed to access the Star Wars land from May 31st to June 23rd. In a recent earnings call, Disney CEO Bob Iger was upbeat about the long term. He's really optimistic about the future of Star Wars. No problem there. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. Oh, man. Nothing to look at. The parks, no problem. The writing, it's the best it's ever been. Situation normal. Man, my goodness. Guest satisfaction interest in the attraction and the land is extremely high. They're among the most popular things at the park. And so long term, and we build these things for the long term and have no concerns whatsoever about them. We feel great about the product that we've created. It's going to take some time for things to work themselves out in terms of how the marketplace is reacting. Okay, well, that's about it. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some reimagining of that park, I think. I don't know if they don't change things, if they just open up Rise of the Resistance and hope that's enough. I don't know if that's going to be enough to bring people in the long term. I think they're going to have to, add new or original trilogy stuff in there, kind of rebrand the park. I think that might be the only way to go. So there's a lot of issues here, and it doesn't seem like the CEO of Disney's really getting them, or he does, and he's just trying to deflect everything, by just making excuses. Everything's fine. We're all good here. Writing's great. It's the best it's ever been. Our park's a hit. Everybody loves it. I don't know. What do you guys think? And let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. And if you've been blocked by Star Wars Explained, welcome to the club. Until next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.